Hello, everyone. Peace be upon you all. This is Dr. Ahmed Magable, OET instructor. Welcome to OET Professor course. In this part, we will talk about Part C. I do want to frustrate you. I'm talking to this to all my students so that they get to know what they are facing. Part C is the most challenging part in all OET subtest. It's not impossible. We have achieved the impossible thing in our whole life. So I just won't need you to concentrate on me on that. The mark that is required from this part is 7 to 8 out of 12. As I told you, we have to be open-minded, so that we can achieve our goals, which is very important. So in part C, you will hear two extract, and as I told you in part A, that the first extract we can use the time that is talking about the instruction of each extract, so you can use that time to aid it to the 90 seconds that would be given to answer the questions. In this two part there is two forms, the interview form and some health professional talking about special things in their work. It can be alternative between extract 1 or extract 2, these two form I meant, or the two extract have the same form, the same one of these two forms. So it's extremely important to know that. I just want to about the interview part, that you should know that some people or someone who is teaching OET, they're telling you that you have to put your focus with the interviewer while he is moving to question to another, which is not correct. You have to use what I say is keywords. Before we get into that, I want you to know that the skill that I want you to come from this video is to how to move from question to another. This is the most important thing that I want you to concentrate me on. Okay, so I hope that you are putting your headphones and you are listening to me. First of all, you will be given, as I said, 90 seconds to read all the questions. Okay, so doctor, what is the right method that I can use to read this question? The most important thing that you will hear me on this is that you have to make your mind drink it. This is very important. This is very psychological, a point that you have to practice it in your mind, that you have that as we took in the school and in the medical school or pharmacological school or whatever your specialty, you always, if you want to simplify thing, you have to put it to its source by giving it a simple definition, so that you can make your mind absorb it, you can make your mind drink it. Please focus me on this. Okay, how is that? You have to in part C, in the 90 second, you will read each question thoroughly and you will skim its answer. Okay, then you go to the another question and you find a keyword. What I mean by a keyword, the keyword in the question is the thing that the recorder or I meant the healthcare professional will or the interviewer will mention through the recording. Okay, like in this question, what is the protection that the keyword is? Why did Dementia Australia decide to examine? So it's very clear that Dementia Australia is the keyword. So if I move to the other question, the initial result of dementia survey revealed that palliative course. So initial result and palliative. And palliative, this is my keyword. Why I'm saying that, you will hear that, you will know that in a second. In this question, the keyword is law, is knowledge of law by care professional. And the next one is the statistic she quote on refusing treatment. So my keyword is refusing treatment. And the last one is the end of life planning is described because. So end of life. Why I'm saying that? That while you using my method, that you read the question thoroughly, you understand what each question wants. Like this: what problem does Dr. Cox identify concern dementia patient? You go to A, B, and C to educate young sport people. Their condition can develop the number of different way to provide range. You can notice that I just read it in skimming way. Okay, the answers I meant. But I read the question very thoroughly. Then I have my pencil with my hands. I put under the keyword in the next question. Then I read the question. Why did dementia research decide to examine the issue of the end life dementia care? Then I go. There was a lack of reliable. The number of stories about poor care made it urgent. There were enough data to which pace is an effective care plan. Then I go to the next one. For Dr. Coase, the initial result. So I put initial result, and survey revealed that palliative care was working more effectively, was more widely available, was viewed negatively by medical professional. Then I go to the next one, and etc. So doctor, can I finish all the question by your method in 90 seconds? Of course not. And I don't want you to complete them. But why? Because mostly the last question you will have the enough time to decide what is the answer, because the next extract will begin then, and he will begin with the instruction of it. But and in addition to that, the last question, and the people who practice on it, they will understand me on that. They will be agreeing me on that the last question mostly it come very easy. So in this video I just want you to know that when to do two things. The first one, when I move to the next question, and the second one, when I decide to choose the answer, A, B, or C. This is very super important. Then so I will come to the first question, when I should move to the next one once I hear the keyword. Now the importance of the keyword come into light. How is that? That fortunately OET has designed the part C that they will never start talking about the answers about of each of any of this answer before they mention the keyword. So they begin with the keyword. They always begin with the keyword. Then they start talking about this. Then they start with the another keyword. So this is the question. This is the answer for the first question. When I have to move on. But doctor, when I have to choose the answer, you have to choose the answer in the moment that they mention the keyword, that they move into the next question. How is that? While you are deciding, while you are listening to the question here, we agreed that your eyes should not be closed, and we have talked about that in part B. That in this part you have to use 60% listening and 40% reading. 60% listening and 40% reading. So while he's talking in the first one, I will what does I thoroughly read the question. what does Dr. Cox identify concerning dementia patient? Okay, then I listen to him very carefully, and in the same time I read each answer, not in a consecutive way, not in the same time. I meant it's just you decide it by exclusion. That's why I'll hear to the first segment. Okay, while I'm listening. Okay, to educate young people. Okay, he did not mention that yet. You understand me? Yet I said yet. Why? Because just like the part B, he can mention the answer in the beginning, or in the middle, or on of the end of the subject of the first or this question. Okay, this is very super important, and we will practice it more. But the most important thing in this video, I want you to come out that when he move on to the next one. So I want you to listen carefully to it.
C. In this part of the test, you'll hear 2 different extracts. In each extract, you'll hear health nutrition called Dr. Claire Cox giving a presentation on the subject of end-of-life care for people with dementia. You now have 97.
Once I hear beep, I go back to the first question, then I read it thoroughly and I concentrate with. I read it thoroughly, then I put in mind. Once I hear Dementia Australia, I have to move on with him. But while that, I just concentrate with him on this. Okay.
My name's Dr. Claire Cox. I'm a geriatrician specialising in palliative care. My topic today is an increasingly important issue: end-of-life care for dementia patients.
Okay.
The care of dementia patients presents certain problems. Dementia is a terminal illness and is the 3rd highest cause of death in Australia. But dementia is different from other such conditions.
Okay, while he's talking, I absorb the question. I absorb it in my mind. Okay, to educate young people. No, she did not mention that until now. Their condition can develop in. Okay, and I keep listening.
It has an unpredictable trajectory, and there can be difficult issues around patients' mental capacity, decision-making and communication. But in spite of an equal need for palliative care services, dementia patients don't always fit the traditional model of such care. Families often suffer distress because they feel unable to ensure that their loved one's wishes are being respected, or just don't know what that person wanted because the discussion wasn't held early enough. There is therefore a clear need for well-funded, patient-centred palliative dementia care that's available when and where it's needed. I do a lot of work with Dementia Australia.
Okay, so I heard Dementia Australia. In this, I have excluded C and A, so mostly it's B, and B is the correct answer. Okay, because you have to make, as I said, your mind opened. That sometime, especially in part C, you have to know where is the talking, where is the conversation, or where is the recording is sliding his conversation to. Okay, what is the neat point that he's talked about? So he talked that their condition can develop, and he mentioned that. Okay, he mentioned different way that they can develop. So once he said dementia in Australia, I put in my mind the next one, the initial result. Then I listen carefully. Now please, I want you to decide when he mentioned the initial result of dementia, the initial result, survey reveal, like this.
An organisation which represents the needs of Australians living with all types of dementia and of their families and carers. It also campaigns on dementia issues and funds research. Dementia Australia decided it was the right time to examine the issue of end-of-life dementia care from the perspective of the consumer as well as from that of the healthcare professional. It's a timely initiative. We have plenty of anecdotal evidence but not enough hard facts about what's going wrong and why the system's failing. But the current situation isn't all bad. Despite the issues I've mentioned, I've heard some wonderful examples of how palliative care has made a big difference to people's lives. Things can obviously go badly wrong if this isn't handled well. But in the right circumstances, people with dementia can reach the end of their lives peacefully and with dignity. Dementia Australia commissioned researchers to conduct a survey on the end-of-life issues affecting dementia patients.
So she's now talking about the survey. Okay, so what is the most appropriate one? Please, you can pause the video. You can pause the video. Well, as I told you, the answer may be in the beginning, or in the end, or in the middle of the talk. So it was in the beginning. There was a leak of readable. Why? As I told you, you have to read the question thoroughly. Why Dementia Australia decide to examine the issue of end of life? Because there was leak of readable information about it. So the next one, the initial result. I want you to know when to move initial result. So the next thing is talking about low. Then I go read the question thoroughly and just listen to him at the same time.
The survey covered both care professionals, that's doctors, nurses and others working with dementia patients, as well as family member carers. The interest was overwhelming, with more than 1,000 responses from around Australia. But what do the results tell us? Well, the initial results confirmed what we've heard about access to appropriate end-of-life care. It was obvious immediately that there was a striking gap between the perceptions of care professionals and family member carers about end-of-life dementia care. For instance, while 58% of family member carers said that they didn't have access to palliative care specialists and 68% didn't have access to hospices, 3/4 of care professionals indicated that people with dementia in their area do in fact have access to palliative care. This begs the question of whether consumers, that is patients and family member carers, might not be aware of services that are available. Another notable finding of the survey was that care professionals often lack knowledge of the legal issues surrounding end-of-life.
So you have to focus that sometimes they will not mention they may be mentioning a synonym, okay? So you have to, anything about law, you have to make your mind open. So what is the most appropriate one? The most appropriate one was working more actively. So initial result, what is the initial result? Reveal that palliative care was working more effectively than people had thought? No. Not that. It may be, but I will not decide until I read the rest of them. Was more widely available than some user imagined. Well, that's more suitable than A. Was viewed negatively by, no, this is absolutely not. So it's mostly B, and it is what is the correct answer, okay? Because they are more widely available than some user imagined. Yes, they talked about that. She talked about that. So let's continue.
Of care. Some reports indicate that care professionals are at times reluctant to use pain medication.
The key word statistics she's got on refusing treatment. So refusing treatment
such as morphine, because,
and while she's talking, I keep in mind that I have to read with her, and I have to put 60 to 70 of my concentration with her talk, and at the same time I have to read not in one breath. Do not read in one breath. Just read and absorb. No, she did not talk about that. Okay, now maybe she talked about it, and you choose the most appropriate answer.
Because of concerns about hastening a patient's death. However, access to appropriate pain relief is considered to be a fundamental human right, even if death is earlier as a secondary effect of medication. Our survey found that 27% of care professionals were unsure about this. or didn't believe that patients are legally entitled to adequate pain control if it might hasten death. So perhaps it isn't surprising then that a quarter of former family member carers felt that pain wasn't adequately managed in end-of-life care. This lack of awareness extends beyond pain management. The statistics on refusing treatment were particularly...
So, it's mostly about what? Proves that family member should help make... No, she did. She talked about that, but it's not the answer for the question. And that's what I'm saying, that you have to understand the question thoroughly, okay? Lack of knowledge by care professional proves that family member should help make the management. Okay, she talked about that, but mostly no. Could be resulting in surprising high number of premature. No, she did not talk about that at all. May lead to dementia patient experiencing unnecessary distress. Well, that's the correct one. That's what she mostly talked about. And we move.
Shocking. Almost a third of care professionals were unaware that people have the right to refuse food and hydration, and 1 in 10 also thought refusal of antibiotics wasn't an option for patients in end-of-life care. How can we ever achieve consumer empowerment and consumer-directed care if the professionals are so ill-informed? There's a clear need for greater information and training on patients' rights. Yet over a third of care professionals said they hadn't received any such training at all. It's obvious that end-of-life care planning is desirable. Discussing and documenting preferences.
Desirable. The answer was in the last thing that she talked about. So, as I told you, you have to focus from the end to from the beginning to the end. So she quotes on refusing treatment, illustrate gap in current medical education program. Well, that is the last thing, the last sentence that she taught. Show how patient wishes are often misunderstood by carers. Okay, demonstrate the particular difficulties presented by dementia. No, this is not at all. But it's mostly talk about that there is the medical education problem have a problem. Programs have problems in illustrating in understanding the refusement. Okay, is that right? So we move to the last one, and please just read the question, and I hope that you answer it correctly. Please just concentrate with him, please.
Is clearly the best way of minimizing the burden of decision making on carers and ensuring patients' wishes are respected. Advanced care planning is essentially an insurance policy that helps to protect our patients in case they lose their decision-making capacity. Even though a patient might believe that loved ones will have their best interests at heart, the evidence shows that such people aren't that good at knowing what decisions those they love would make on complex matters such as infection control and hydration. So before I go on...
Okay, so what is the answer? What is the answer, mostly? Okay, if your answer is B, then this is the correct answer. I hope that you have had benefits from this recording. I hope that I see you in the online session. So please just practice on the material that I have given you from the beginning of the course, so that you can sharpen your skill.